The weekend is here, and the Dodgers have a date by the Bay. What's up, everybody? I'm Jim Rodriguez, and welcome to the Friday here on Dodgers Latest. Big weekend in store for the Dodgers as they are in San Francisco to take on the Giants. 3-game series, quick little road trip. They're back home next week to face the Phillies and then the Giants again at Dodger Stadium. It's the final homestand of the year next week. But first things first, the weekend in San Francisco, Dodgers and Giants. Literally the Dodgers will be the deciding factor whether the Giants make the postseason. And I love that. That's great for baseball, great for the rivalries, and I love to see it, and I'm excited. A little, trepidatious, of course. We know the Dodgers and Giants have had some famous postseason and regular season histories against each other. Remember, you can hit me up on Instagram and on X at JRodShow. I want to thank everybody that took part of the episode yesterday, our tribute to the 9/11 victims, and of course, my friend who thankfully overslept after going to a Red Sox-Yankee game on September 10th. It was a late game. It was rained out. I invite you to watch that episode. It's amazing what baseball, still carries the ticket stub from that game. He was supposed to be at the Tower for a meeting on September 11th, and he overslept because the Yankees and Red Sox had a late game the night before at Yankee Stadium, and it was rained out. So I invite you to be a part of that. Continue to like, subscribe. Tell your friends, share as we continue to grow and as we continue to get closer to October. So, yeah, that's right. Dodgers and Giants will meet up this weekend in San Francisco. And, yeah, Dodgers playing the Giants 7 times in the next 10 games. Dodgers have beaten the Giants 4 out of 6 this year. I love that the Dodgers and Giants are meeting at the end of the year. Tonight, it's Yoshinobu Yamamoto taking the mound for the first time since that no-hitter gone awry in Baltimore. He will draw future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander, who just passed Gaylord Perry for 8th all-time in strikeouts, 3,535 for the future Hall of Famer. Dodgers will then throw Kershaw on Saturday, and on Sunday it'll be Tyler Glasnow. Giants do not have a pitcher assigned for Saturday and Sunday next. So, that's right, Dodgers and Giants, and this is where we stand. Dodgers were off yesterday. Padres played and beat the Rockies, so the Dodgers 2.5 games up on San Diego in the division. Really, they're up. They're up 3 in the loss column, and the magic number is 13. Remember, the Dodgers, all they have to do is tie the Padres. If both teams get into the playoffs, all the Dodgers have to do is tie the Padres, and the Dodgers will be the division champions because the Dodgers have the tiebreaker over San Diego. Now, the Giants, they're about 8 games out of the division, but they're only a game and a half out of the last wild card spot. And really, they're 1 game out in the loss column. The Reds and Giants have the same record, and they're both a game and a half behind the Mets for that last wild card spot. And the way the scheduling works, well, the Dodgers are in San Francisco this weekend. The Padres are hosting the Rockies. The Phillies, who have a 4.5 game lead over the Dodgers for the 2 seed, they are hosting the Royals. By the way, the Phillies will be at Dodger Stadium Monday, so that's going to be a huge series to either set up or get closer to that number 2 seed. And the Reds, who are tied with the Giants, trying to get into that last wild card spot, they are in Sacramento to play the A's. So it's an interesting situation. And of course, Justin Verlander, who we remember from the 2017 World Series, he's had a bad year. He's had a really bad year, and he's at the end of his career. But boy, he would like to stick it to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers would like to pay him back for that 2017 World Series. Great matchup tonight with Yamamoto and Verlander on the mound. So interesting dilemma now. And yeah, I know we're putting the cart ahead of the horse, but let's say the Dodgers get into the playoffs, whether they get in as a wild card or they get in as a division winner. And it looks like the Dodgers will be playing that wild card series, that first round best of 3. If they win the division, then they would be hosting all 3 potential games at Dodger Stadium because they would be the 3rd seed, the one division winner that doesn't get a bye. If they're a wild card, then they would go on the road. So the question is Clayton Kershaw's role with the team. Will Clayton Kershaw be on the postseason roster? Is there room for him? I mean, we've seen with the historic numbers the Dodgers starting pitchers have done, and Kershaw has been part of that, right? Last 5 starts, an opponent's batting average of 091 by the Dodgers starters, 49 strikeouts. No one's ever done that in a 5-game stretch before. And Kershaw's having a damn good year, right? He's 10-2, ERA of 3.27. Was the pitcher of the month, as far as I'm concerned. In August, he was 5-0, 1.88 ERA. But then you look at what he's done in the postseason, right? The historic struggles. He's a 500 pitcher in the postseason, 13-13, ERA of 4.49, and we've seen some of those meltdowns. His best postseason was 2020 when the Dodgers won the World Series. He was 4-1 that postseason with an ERA under 3 at 2.93. So the question is, with Yamamoto, Ohtani, Snell, Glasnow, Sheehan, does Kershaw have a spot in the roster? I don't think so. At least not the first round. It's best of 3. I think you want to have as big of a pitching depth as you can, but I don't think Clayton's on that first round roster. Now, League Championship Series, it becomes best. Division Series, it becomes best of 5. Certainly, League Championship Series and World Series that are best of 7. I can see Kershaw on those, the 7-game series rosters, but I don't know if Clayton has a spot in the wild card series roster or a division series roster. Where would you put him? You wouldn't bring him out of relief, would you? We've seen those disasters happen, and I don't know there's a place for him to start. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Hit me up here on Dodgers Latest on our YouTube channel with those comment section. We read them all, and of course you can always hit me up on X and Instagram at JRodShow. But I don't, for as much as we love Clayton Kershaw and he's a Hall of Famer and he's going to have his number retired, I don't know if there's a spot for him in that first round, and maybe there's not a spot for him at all in the postseason roster, for as blasphemous as that might sound. Now, another crazy idea is, should Shohei Ohtani be the Dodgers' closer in the postseason? He did it in the World Baseball Classic, right, where he closed out Team Japan's win over the United States. Obviously, he struck out Mike Trout to end the game in Miami. I think it's great for clickbait. I think it's great to get people to view and read your article or view these videos, but I don't think practically it works. Now, we know that there's the Ohtani rule, right, that was set up where Ohtani can DH and pitch in the same game as long as he starts. That's the rule. So he can be a starting pitcher, come out of the game after 3 or 4 innings as the pitcher, and then stay in the role as designated hitter. That was the Ohtani rule that was set up. And, of course, it's for everybody in big league baseball that you can have a two-way player. But it doesn't apply if he comes in as a relief pitcher. So, in other words, let's say you bring Ohtani in as a reliever in the 8th inning or the 9th inning. And what happens if he gives up a run and the game is tied? Well, if you remove him from the mound, you remove him from the game. He can't go back to DHing if he's a relief pitcher. He can start, come out, and still be a DH, but he can't be a DH, come into a game as a reliever, be taken out, then you lose him entirely. That's very dangerous from a game management point of view and also from a health point of view. In other words, when would he warm up, right? You'd have to work it out where maybe if it's a Dodger Stadium, there's a way where he can go in between innings when he's not hitting. He can go to the bullpen, warm up. But what happens if he's on the road? How do you have access? Where does he warm up? How does he warm up? There's just so many things that could go wrong. A one-time deal in a World Baseball Classic where he knew he was going to be the closer no matter what if they had the lead. That's one thing. Maybe if we're talking a Game 7 of the World Series, maybe that's an option. But again, very dangerous if he doesn't come in and shut the door. But it is intriguing, the Shohei Ohtani as a closer role. Interesting. All right, we always ask you for your thoughts. Be part of the show. We read all your comments and we share them. And here's an interesting one, both a guy ripping Dave Roberts and a psychological point of view about Tanner Scott. Roberts is basically just mentally abusing Scott at this point. Dude is in a serious funk, and he's only getting worse. And Roberts, rather than give him a break in a low-leverage spot, just keeps throwing the dude out there in insanely stressful, extremely difficult positions. I'm not a Scott fan by any means, but I'm starting to feel sorry for him. That's just part of what our friends sent out to us there. And listen, yes and no. Tanner Scott is getting paid $72 million to be the Dodger closer. And I don't want to be that guy, but sometimes you got to do your job, man. And if he can't do the job, then you remove him. I agree, going to the well all over and over, that's insanity, right? Look at the Michael Conforto situation. Look at Teoscar playing right field situation. We confound ourselves going why and why and why, but that's his job, and he's got to figure it out. He's got a whole litany of coaches. He's got personal coaches. He's got teammates. We've got to get Tanner Scott better. Now, do you put in Tanner Scott in a Game 7 last out role in the World Series or in the postseason? That's going to be interesting. Right now, I don't think he's the closer. I think it's a closer by committee situation if the playoffs started today. With maybe Vesia being the guy who I would give the ball to first and an opportunity to close a game. Trinan's pitched well. Maybe Banda, but certainly not Tanner Scott right now. And maybe if the Dodgers can take care of business against the Giants these next 10 games, put them away, put the division away, maybe, the last couple of weeks of the season, certainly the last week of the season, maybe you give him more of a low leverage role as our writer suggested to try to get him in there. But you're paying this guy to be the closer. So either if he can do it, you put him out there, and if you can't, you don't put him on the roster because you don't want to put somebody on the roster that you don't have confidence in, and you're certainly not going to use. It's a wild weekend, Dodgers and Giants. Enjoy it. Obviously we remember, 1951, for those who are old enough to remember Bobby Thompson's shot heard around the world. I remember 1982, Joe Morgan beating the Dodgers on a home run. I remember 1993. I was at that game when Mike Piazza sunk the Giants and knocked them out of the postseason. Of course, Dodgers and Giants have actually played in a postseason before, which was amazing. A 5-game series with the Dodgers beat the Giants up in San Francisco to wrap it up. It's awesome. And for the Dodgers, another opportunity to get into the postseason, another opportunity to hang another division championship. But the ultimate goal, obviously, is to win it all and get their 9th championship in franchise history. It's Yamamoto and Verlander tonight, weekend in San Francisco, and then Monday, home against the Phillies to try to make a dent and get closer to that 2 seed and avoid playing that first round of the Wild Card Series. I'm Jim Rodriguez. Remember, you can always hit me up. J-Rod Show, Instagram and X right there. Leave your comments, and we'll read them, and hopefully we'll get them on the air. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games, and remember, it's always time for Dodger baseball.